The Teacher's Secret, and Other Folk Tales. Retold by Joyce Hannam.
Fantagiro. King Marco lived in Italy. He had 3 daughters and no sons.
"What's the matter?"
asked Fantagiro, his youngest daughter, one day.
"It's this letter from King Luca of Randazzo,"
said her father.
"He wants to fight me and be king here, too. He's sending his army. What can I do? I'm old, with no sons to fight for me."
"I can fight for you,"
his oldest daughter said.
"But armies don't like women generals,"
said King Marco.
"I can wear men's clothes,"
she said. And later that day, she left with the army. After some time, she saw some tall trees.
"Look,
She cried.
I can cook dinner for all the army with wood from only one of those trees."
"Cook?
Cried the man next to her.
The general is a woman!"
Everyone laughed. The oldest daughter went home at once, and the army came home behind her. The next day, the second sister left with the army. She said nothing when she saw the tall trees. Then they came to a river.
"Look,
She cried.
I can wash the dirtiest shirts in that river, and they're going to come out white again."
"Wash?
Cried the man next to her.
This general is a woman too!"
When his second daughter came back, King Marco said,
"Oh no, I'm going to lose my country to King Luca."
"Don't forget me."
said Fantagiro. Fantagiro didn't talk on the road,
"This general is quiet,
thought the man next to her.
but he rides and carries his sword well."
Soon, beautiful Fantagiro met King Luca and his army.
"Who are you?"
He asked her.
"I'm King Marco's general.
She said.
Shall we talk before we fight?"
"All right,
Said Luca.
but let's go to my palace."
Fantagiro asked the man next to her, Tonino, to go with her. At his palace, Luca spoke to his mother.
"Perhaps King Marco's general is a woman, but how can I be sure?"
His mother said,
"Take him to the sword room. Women aren't interested in swords."
but Fantagiro looked at the swords for hours. Then Luca's mother said,
"Take him into the garden and watch when he picks a flower. A woman puts a flower down the front of her dress. A man puts it behind his ear."
But Fantagiro picked a yellow flower and put it behind her ear.
"What now?"
Asked Luca.
"She's a woman, I'm sure. Look at her beautiful face."
"He loves the general.
His mother thought.
Ask him to have dinner with you.
She told Luca.
A man breaks his bread with his hands. A woman cuts her bread with a knife."
But Fantagiro broke her bread with her hands. After dinner, the queen said,
It's a hot night. Ask him to swim with you. 2 men can swim together happily, but a woman is going to say no.
When Luca asked, Fantagiro said,
Of course, I'd love to swim with you, but I'm tired and it's late. Let's do it tomorrow morning.
and she went to her room. There, Fantagiro wrote a letter. She called to Nino and said,
Take this letter and go to stay with our army tonight. Early tomorrow morning, come back and give me the letter.
The next morning, Fantagiro met Luca.
Let's swim now.
He said.
Wait,
She said.
I can hear a horse and it's coming fast. Perhaps it's something important.
Just then, Tonino arrived and gave her the letter. Fantagiro read it.
Oh no,
She cried.
my father's dying. I must leave. Let's talk tomorrow.
And she rode away at once. Now, Luca's mother was sure.
Fantagiro is a woman. Go after her and see what she does.
She said to Luca. Fantagiro went home. She put on women's clothes and spoke with her father in the palace garden. Luca went after her and listened from behind a tree.
Father, I must go back to King Luca's palace tomorrow.
Said Fantagiro.
But he's very friendly now, and he isn't going to fight us.
Then Luca came from behind the tree.
You are a woman.
He cried happily.
I knew it. Please, be my wife and queen.
All right.
Said Fantagiro.
And our 2 countries can be one without a fight.
King Marco laughed.
Sometimes daughters are better than sons.
He said.
1,000 gold coins. Nasreddin lived in Turkey. He was a good man, but not very rich, and his wife wasn't happy about it.
You pray to God every day, but nothing changes. We are always poor,
She said.
I don't understand it. God doesn't help us. Perhaps he doesn't like us.
Of course God likes us.
Answered Nasreddin.
He loves everyone. Be quiet, wife.
But his wife never stopped talking about money. In the end, Nasreddin prayed to God.
Please send me 1,000 gold coins. Then my wife can be happy. But remember, I don't want 999, and I don't want 1,001. I want exactly 1,000 coins.
Every morning, Nasreddin prayed to God for his gold coins. His neighbor, Ahmet, a rich man, heard him over the garden wall every day. He laughed and said to his wife,
Listen, Nasreddin says he doesn't want 999 gold coins. I can't understand him. Everybody wants gold, and Nasreddin is very poor. I'm going to throw 999 gold coins over the wall into his garden. What's he going to do then? Let's see.
The next morning, when Nasreddin began praying, a bag of gold coins suddenly came over the garden wall and hit Nasreddin on the head. Nasreddin opened the bag and then smiled.
Come here, wife.
He called.
Look, God is listening to me.
His wife laughed and sang. An hour later, Ahmet came to the door.
How are you, Nasreddin?
He asked.
I can hear laughing and singing in your house.
We are happy.
Answered Nasreddin.
Because God is good to us. Look.
He said, and he opened the bag in his hand.
I asked God for gold, and here it is.
Ahmet smiled.
How many gold coins are in the bag exactly?
He asked.
You asked for 1,000, I think. Let's count them.
Why?
Asked Nasreddin.
God can count, you know.
But Ahmet didn't listen. He began to count carefully. Then he said,
You can't have this gold, Nasreddin. There are 999 coins here, not 1,000.
Is that right?
Said Nasreddin.
Then God knows about it, and one more coin is going to come later today. I'm sure of it.
Listen, Nasreddin.
Ahmet said.
It's my gold. I threw it over the wall, and you must give it back.
I can't do that.
Answered Nasreddin.
You don't understand. God is working through you.
Now Ahmet was angry.
I'm going to take you to court. I want my gold back.
All right.
Said Nasreddin.
Let's speak to the judge about it. But I can't go to court in these poor, dirty clothes. Can I wear your coat?
Ahmet wanted to go to court at once because he wanted to get his gold back that day. So he gave his coat to Nasreddin.
Now, let's go,
Ahmet said, and he walked out of the door.
Wait a minute,
Said Nasreddin.
I'm an old man, and the court is far from here. How can I walk there?
Ahmet stopped.
It's not far.
He said angrily.
It is for me.
Answered Nasreddin.
I have a bad leg.
All right.
Said Ahmet.
You can have my horse for the day. Wait a minute.
So Ahmet brought his horse for Nasreddin to ride.
Now we can go to court.
Said Ahmet.
You can ride the horse. I'm going to walk.
Wife, watch my gold coins carefully.
Said Nasreddin before he left.
Because sooner or later, God is going to send me one more coin.
Nasreddin and Ahmet arrived at the court. When the judge saw them, he asked,
"Why are you here?"
Because
answered Ahmet.
this man, Nasreddin, has 999 of my gold coins. He must give them back to me.
Is this true?
The judge asked Nasreddin.
No, it isn't.
Answered Nasreddin.
This money came to me from God because I prayed for it.
He went nearer to the judge and said quietly to him,
I'm sorry, but this poor man, my neighbor, is mad. All of my things are his things, he thinks. Ask him about this coat.
Is this your coat?
The judge asked Ahmet.
Of course it is.
Answered Ahmet.
I gave it to Nasreddin.
You see?
Said Nasreddin quietly to the judge.
Now ask him about the horse.
Is this your horse, too?
Asked the judge.
Yes, it is.
Answered Ahmet.
Poor man.
Said the judge.
You don't need a court. You need a doctor. You must say sorry to Nasreddin and give him 1 gold coin at once.
Nasreddin took the gold coin from Ahmet.
I thank God for this.
He said happily.
Now I have the last of my 1,000 coins.
Nasreddin and Ahmet left the court and went home. Later, Nasreddin gave back the coat, the horse, and the 1,000 gold coins to Ahmet.
These are your things.
Said Nasreddin, and he smiled.
But remember, never come between God and man again. The Teacher's Secret. Once, there was an expensive school in Korea. The students there learned to read and write Chinese. They were all afraid of their teacher. He was an old man, and he was always angry when the students didn't do their schoolwork well. Sometimes, when he watched his students at work, the teacher felt hungry. Then he picked up a basket and ate something from it. One day, one of his students, a little boy, asked,
"What are you eating, teacher?"
Oh,
he said quickly.
it's my secret. It's good for old men, but it's poison for children.
One morning, the teacher needed to go to the nearest town. Before he left, he told his students,
You must read and write without me all morning.
After an hour, the students were tired of reading and writing.
"Let's look in the teacher's basket."
Said the little boy.
"I want to know his secret." "Me too,"
Said his friend. When they opened the basket, they found lots of nice dried fruit in it.
That isn't poison,
Said an older girl.
"I'm hungry."
Said the little boy. And he took some fruit from the basket and began to eat it. Then everybody took some of the teacher's fruit and ate it. Soon There was nothing in the basket.
Oh, dear. What are we going to do now?
The students asked.
Our teacher is going to be very angry with us.
The room was suddenly quiet. Then the little boy spoke.
I have an idea.
He said.
Can you help me?
The students listened to him. Then they all pushed over the teacher's table. Black ink went all over the floor, and the teacher's beautiful inkstone broke in half.
Now lie down, everybody,
said the little boy. All the students lay down on the floor. That afternoon, the teacher came back from town. He walked into the room and shouted at once.
What's the matter? Why are you all lying on the floor?
The little boy stood up.
Teacher,
He said.
for a short time this morning, we stopped reading and writing, and we played in this room. By accident, your table went on the floor, and your inkstone broke in half. We felt very bad about that, and we wanted to die. So everybody ate some of the poison in your basket. Now we're waiting to die. We're very sorry.
And he lay down again on the floor. The teacher didn't speak. He left the room and went into the garden to think. After a minute or two, he smiled and said,
Those students are learning quickly.
A picture of Tara. Princess Tara loved riding her horse in the forest near her father's palace. But one day, her horse stopped suddenly. She saw smoke in the trees in front of her.
Fire!
She thought.
I must go up a tree to see it better.
From the tree, she could see everything. The fire moved east very fast. In front of it ran many animals and birds. Princess Tara watched one family of birds. The father and mother birds wanted to carry the young birds because they couldn't fly. But it wasn't easy, and the fire came nearer and nearer. In the end, the father bird flew away from the fire, but the mother bird stayed with the young birds and died with them. After that, Princess Tara rode sadly back to the palace, and she thought about the birds and about men and women.
We're no different from those birds,
She said.
Women think of their children first, but men don't. I'm never going to marry one of them.
So she told everybody in her country.
I'm never going to marry.
After some time, a man arrived at the palace and painted some pictures for the king. One day, he saw the princess in the garden with a book. He painted her secretly because he liked her face. The next morning, he left the palace and he took the picture of Tara with him. Some months later, a rich king in a far country bought the picture of Tara. He put it in his palace for everyone to see.
What a beautiful girl,
they all said. Now this king had a son. He was called Vikram. Vikram looked at the picture of Tara every day, and one day he said to his father,
I'm going to find that girl and marry her.
But my son,
answered the king,
who is she? Nobody knows.
The painter knew her,
said Vikram.
Where is he?
But nobody could say. Vikram was very sad, and the Prime Minister's daughter, Lata, was sorry for him.
Prince Vikram,
she said,
I can paint well, you know that. So I'm going to paint a small picture of the girl's face, and then I'm going to look for her.
Thank you, Lata,
said Vikram.
And good luck.
So the next day, Lata painted a new, smaller picture of Tara's face, and she left the palace with it. She went to many countries, but nobody knew the girl in the picture. In the end, very far from home, she came to a new country. When the people there saw the picture, they said,
Oh, yes, that's our Princess Tara.
She doesn't want to marry, you know.
It's a very good picture of her.
Why doesn't Tara want to marry?
Lata asked. But nobody knew. So Lata went to Tara's palace.
I'm a painter,
she said to Tara's father, the king.
Can I do some work for you?
What can you paint?
Asked the king.
I like painting people,
answered Lata.
Shall I paint your children?
I have only one daughter,
answered the king sadly.
Can you paint her?
Of course,
said Lata. At first, Tara wasn't interested, but Lata talked to her, and in the end the princess said,
All right. You can paint my picture, but you must talk to me when you are painting.
So every morning, Lata came to paint the picture of Tara, and they talked. Soon, they were friends. The day before she finished the picture, Lata asked Tara,
Why don't you want to marry?
Tara smiled.
Everybody asks me that. They don't understand me,
she said.
But perhaps I can tell my secret to you.
And she told Lata all about the forest fire and the birds. Lata thought quickly.
I know a prince in a far country,
she said.
He saw a forest fire, and it changed him too. Before he saw the fire, he was a happy young man, but now he is sad, and he doesn't want to marry. I can't tell you about it because it's a secret, but I can paint a picture of it for you.
Can I see your picture tomorrow?
said Tara. Lata painted all night. In her picture, she painted a big forest fire and many animals. At the front of the picture stood Prince Vikram, and not far from him was a family of deer. The father deer was near the fire with the young deer, but the mother deer stood far away from the fire and from her family. Early next morning, the picture was ready, and Tara came to Lata's room.
Where's your picture?
asked Tara.
I couldn't sleep last night because I wanted to see it.
Here it is,
answered Lata.
Do you like it?
Tara looked at the picture carefully.
But the mother, dear, is not with her family,
she cried.
Is this picture true?
The prince saw this happen,
answered Lata.
And so now, for him, all women are bad.
But not all women are bad,
said Tara.
The prince is wrong.
Is he?
asked Lata.
Then perhaps you are wrong about men.
Tara went to her room at once, and nobody saw her again all day. The next morning, she called Lata to her room.
I would like to meet your prince,
she said.
Perhaps I can help him.
Lata smiled.
You can, I'm sure,
she said.
Come with me to visit him.
So, what happened when Tara met Vikram? It was true love, of course. And soon after they met, they married and were very happy. Erka's Well. Frederick, Prince of Brandenburg, was a rich man. One summer, he went to visit a friend in Poland. He rode his horse through forests and by beautiful rivers. One hot day, he went down the wrong road and arrived in a village far from his friend's house. He was tired, so he stopped near a cottage and got off his horse. Next to the cottage was a well. Frederick gave his horse some water from the well, and then he began to sit down. Just then, someone said,
Don't sit there.
The prince looked up and saw a beautiful girl in the cottage garden.
Did you say something?
He asked her.
Yes. Don't sit there,
she said again.
Why do you say that?
He asked.
Because,
said the girl,
when a man sits by that well, he must marry the girl from this cottage.
Frederick laughed.
Is she very ugly, this girl?
He asked.
Oh, no,
said the girl.
It's me. And my name's Erka.
Frederick looked at Erka carefully. He liked her beautiful face and her long, gold hair.
I see,
he said.
I'd like to sit down now. Can I?
But Erka wasn't happy about it. Frederick looked at Erka.
What is it now?
He asked angrily.
Am I ugly?
You're rich,
said Erka.
And I'm poor. You can't marry a poor wife, I'm sure.
I have lots of gold,
said Frederick.
But I like the gold in your hair better than all my gold coins.
In the end, he sat down, and Erka smiled. The wall of the well was warm in the summer sun, and Frederick felt very tired. He began to lie down.
Be careful,
said Erka.
Don't lie down on that wall.
Frederick sat up angrily.
I am a prince,
he answered.
And when I want to lie down, I lie down.
I'm sorry,
said Erka.
But you don't understand. When a man puts his head on that wall, he must spend half the year in Poland. And you aren't from Poland, I'm sure.
Frederick thought for a minute.
Half the year in Poland.
He thought about the rivers and the forests. He looked at the beautiful flowers in Erka's garden. Then he thought about his family and friends in Brandenburg.
Shall I spend half the year in Poland with my new Polish wife?
He thought. He put his head down on the wall in the sun, and soon he slept. Erka said nothing more. She went into the cottage and made something for her prince to eat. A month later, Frederick married Erka, and everyone came to the wedding. They all drank good red wine from Frederick's country and laughed when they heard the story of Erka's well. Suddenly, an important Polish prince arrived. He was very late, and all the glasses were dirty.
We can't give wine to a prince in a dirty glass,
they said. The Polish prince understood at once.
I don't need a glass,
he said.
I can see something better to drink from.
He looked at Erka and said,
Give me one of your shoes.
Then Frederick put some wine into the shoe.
I would like everyone to drink from this shoe,
said the Polish prince.
Let's all drink to Erka and Frederick.
So everyone drank from Erka's shoe. And in Poland, for many years after that, people at weddings always drank wine from the bride's shoe.
Ali's wife. Fatima was a beautiful young woman from Syria. One day, she saw a big new shop in one of the streets in her hometown. On the front of the shop was a sign. It said, "Women are clever, but men think faster."
Who wrote that?
She said angrily.
Ali the shopkeeper,
people told her. Fatima went into the shop.
What a nice day,
said Ali.
Not for me,
answered Fatima, and she began to cry. Ali was surprised.
Why not?
Ali asked.
What's the matter?
Every time a man wants to marry me, my father always tells him, "My daughter is cross-eyed and has big, ugly feet." Is it true?
She looked at Ali with her big, dark eyes.
Your eyes are beautiful,
said Ali.
What about my feet?
She asked sadly. Ali looked at her feet.
They're wonderful feet,
he said.
Who is your father? I must talk to him.
My father is the judge,
answered Fatima.
The richest man in town.
Don't cry any more,
said Allie.
I'm going to visit him tomorrow. Everything is going to change.
But what about when he calls me cross-eyed and talks about my big ugly feet?
Said Fatima.
I'm ready for his stories,
answered Allie. Fatima left the shop and went home. Allie couldn't sleep all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Fatima's beautiful dark eyes. The next day, he got up early and walked quickly to the judge's house. The judge was very surprised when Allie asked to marry his daughter.
"Do you know about my daughter?"
he asked.
"She's cross-eyed and has big, ugly feet."
That doesn't matter to me,
said Allie.
"But can you pay for her?"
asked the judge.
"You must pay 10,000 gold coins to marry her."
That's nothing to me,
said Allie.
I have a big shop. Here's the money.
So the judge said yes to the wedding. Later that day, a man came to Allie's door with a big basket.
"This basket is from the judge,"
said the man.
It's her things, I'm sure,
thought Allie. But when he opened the basket, there was an ugly young woman in it. She was cross-eyed and had big, ugly feet.
Who are you?
asked Allie.
I'm the judge's daughter,
she answered.
but I'm going to be your wife.
Allie sat down suddenly next to the basket.
So, who was the beautiful girl in my shop?
He thought. He gave the ugly young woman something to eat, and then went to his room. He didn't understand a thing. The next morning, he opened his shop at the usual time. He sat with his head in his hands. The door opened, and Fatima came in.
Good morning. What a nice day,
she said. This time, Allie cried.
Not for me,
he said.
Now I'm going to have an ugly wife. But I wanted to marry you. You're not the judge's daughter.
No, my father is the blacksmith,
said Fatima.
Why are you doing this to me?
asked Allie.
Who thinks faster,
asked Fatima.
men or women?
Allie looked at Fatima.
Ah, now I understand,
he said.
The sign on the front of my shop.
With that, Fatima left the shop and went home. The next day, Fatima walked past the shop and looked at the sign. Men think fast, but women are cleverer, she read. She went into the shop.
That's better,
she said.
Now, listen to me. I can help you. You're going to have a big wedding for your new wife. Ask the poorest people in town to your house. And ask your bride's father, too. When the poor people arrive, tell the judge, "These people are all in my family." He doesn't want any poor people in his family. I'm sure of that.
Fatima was right. When the judge met the poor people at Ali's house, he was very angry.
I don't want my daughter to marry someone from this family,
he cried.
Give her back at once.
But I like her,
said Ali.
You can have your 10,000 gold coins back,
said the judge.
No, thank you,
said Ali.
What about 20,000 gold coins, then?
asked the judge. In the end, Ali took the 20,000 gold coins and gave the young woman back to her father. The next day, Ali went to the blacksmith's house.
I want to marry your daughter,
he said.
Oh, yes,
said the blacksmith.
But first,
said Ali,
can I see her? Perhaps you have more than one daughter.
Fatima's father smiled.
Fatima,
he called,
please bring our visitor some coffee.
When Fatima came in and saw Ali, she laughed.
Why are you here?
She asked.
I want to marry the right woman this time,
he said. Now everybody laughed.
Let's have some of Fatima's coffee,
said her father.